Alrighty, welcome to Trackside with PR. Today we've got special guests from Turbosmart, Brendan and Richard. Welcome.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
So, Richard, we'll start with you. You're the engineer?
I'm the operations manager at Turbosmart.
Operations manager. Okay, and what was your background?
I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. I did a uni degree at UTS, and I've been with the company for about 18 years. So I've done a couple of different roles in the company.
Yep.
Started as a junior engineer to the only engineer to production manager, then operations manager, then took a bit of a break working more closely with the engineers on product and quality, and now I'm back in operations.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, interesting.
How would you get into something like that back then?
So look, when I was doing my uni degree, I've sort of struggled with why I was doing engineering, because it's a bloody hard subject to do, and you really got to want to know it to do it. My dad was always into cars, so I grew up working on his old Alpha back in the day, and him explaining to me how cars work. So I got into uni, was sort of working part-time in air conditioning, going, man, this is killing me. Why the hell do I want to do this? But at the time, I had an S14. It was my first car, and I started doing drifting back when I think the group was called Initial Drift. Back in the day, that was 2002 or 2001. Did that for a bit, kept on breaking things, went, you know what, let's do circuit racing. So my S14, I transformed that into a more circuit-orientated car.
Was that to brake more or less?
No, it's to brake less, because you're not trying to control something that's out of control.
Yeah.
My car made it into Auto Salon magazine at the time. They had a competition called Street Car of the Year, and my car made it there. And I was around people back in the olden days, like Nico's NSX and Autostyle with all their GDRs and Osmonds with their WRXs. So all of that crew. And I met someone there that knew the owners of Turbosmart. We started talking, and he's like, oh, what do you do? I'm learning to become a mechanical engineer. He said, oh, I know the guys from Turbosmart. You want me to hand him your resume? I said, yes, why not?
100%.
So
yeah.
That's where
Sick opportunity. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
How far into studying were you at this point?
I was probably 2 years into my course.
Yep.
And it's not until I started working at Turbosmart that the degree actually meant something.
Yeah.
Because back then I was like, why
am I doing
this?
this?
I need to know this. And then when I started working, it's like, oh, I need to know these formulas. I need to know how these materials work. I need to understand forces. And that's where it started to click. So I was more interested in learning at uni after starting working at Turbosmart.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah. My degree took forever to do, though, because I was working part-time while studying part-time.
Yeah.
I've got my dream job.
Yeah.
Why do I need to
study?
Study that hard? I know I need to finish it, but...
How long did it take?
10 years.
10 years, wow.
Yeah. So it was supposed to be a 5-year course
Yeah.
at UTS, but I was just doing, minimum to just tick it by and finish it.
Sure.
Yeah.
The owner was fine with that at the time?
Yeah.
Probably because he was getting more out of you.
Probably. But look, I have a passion for cars. So back in those days, the engineering team was fairly small, but the guys there were, your true engineers, the guys that really know the theory. Turn and spanner on cars, not so much. Whereas I'd love to get my hands dirty. So I approached the design process with more like
physical.
Yeah, more of that knowledge. Like, what would you have to do if you're in the middle of a racetrack and you're trying to fix this thing? Well, this product needs to be a certain way so it's serviceable, so you can fix it. Yeah,
I guess it's like looking at something from an engineer's point of view versus an architect's.
Yeah.
They're two different people.
And you learn really quickly. Like you'd submit drawings and you'd send it to the machine shop and they go, you got to be kidding me, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, how are you going to make that? You come down. I was like, well, maybe you could do it this way. No, you can't, because those tools don't last that long.
Yep.
That groove's too small. This curve can't happen.
Yep.
And you start to work alongside the machinist on how to design a product so that it's
cheap and efficient to make.
Correct, and reliable. And then you work with the assemblers to see, well, how are these guys going to put it together? If I can't put it together efficiently and effectively, how the hell am I supposed to get these guys to do it? Yeah. So working along with them has helped sort of get our products to a certain way so that they're efficient to make, they're reliable, they're simple. They can be a lot more complex, but do they really need to be?
Yeah.
Not really. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And how long? So prior to you going into Turbosmart, how long was it running for?
The company was started in 97. So I started in 2005. Last year was our 25th anniversary. I've been there 18 years. So 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's still fairly fresh.
Yeah.
What parts were on the market prior to you? So you obviously knew of Turbosmart, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So what parts were to the market back then?
Back then, the eBoost 2
Wow.
just
That's
got
actually-
released. Just got
That's how
released.
old it is.
Holy
That's how
crap.
old
Insane,
it is.
right?
Yep.
Same design.
Same design.
Yeah.
The old dual stage, which was like a red little box, big chunky box.
Yeah, I remember
was
that.
available.
Yep.
And the old Type 3 blowoff was quite large, sort of a curvy sort of
Yep.
cap and ribs on the body. That was available back then. Our wastegate range was very different. If I remember correctly, the ProGate 48 was, it had a fairly round but squarish block body with the 4 posts into a large cap. It was quite a large
Yeah, I
unit.
do remember it was quite big.
So that was our product range back then to what it is today.
Today, yeah, which we'll get into a bit later. You started there. You sort of like it took you. I guess it's really good to note there though that the different kinds of people or engineers or
Processes.
required to get a product from what would work on paper to actually what would physically be desired.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of companies that make things and it's like, oh, geez, it works, but do you prefer use that over this, due to assembly or, servicing it during a race or whatever it may be?
Yeah, look,
Yeah.
I've met a few engineers where they're very textbook minded. So
Yep.
the way they design things, theoretically possible.
Yes.
And if you made 50, probably be okay. You could
Yes.
machine it, you could assemble it. Get to 100, it probably starts to get a bit more difficult. Get to 500 now, all these little things start to become problems. Get to 1,000 pieces, you can't make it like
You can't
this
make it like
anymore.
that.
Yeah.
How do the engineers that have that frame of mind take on that critic?
Very
Personal?
with great difficulty. Yeah,
Yeah.
Look, they've got to look past that. Just because, and I've had this with a lot of people, just because you have a degree does not mean you're above anyone.
Sure.
If anything, experience is better.
Yep.
But if you have the experience combined with the theory, you're a fairly powerful person because
Yeah.
you've got that blend of knowledge.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's the hard bit to get because most people that finish uni, they come out and go, well, I've got a degree, I know how to design anything. No, you don't.
Nah. Yeah.
No, I've had people question things of how we design. They're like, okay, well, how would you do it? Oh, you do it this way. Well, we did that and it doesn't work because of these reasons. Oh, well, then I'd do it this way. Well, no, you can't do it that way because the machinist doesn't like it because they like, there's
Yeah.
so many other things
Yep.
that are involved with designing a product.
Yeah, 100%.
It's crazy. It's a lot of the things that no one really thinks about. Especially the end user that's like installing it.
Yeah.
They don't understand what goes on in the background or how long it actually took to develop that product. Like roughly what would it take time wise to design a blow-off valve, for example?
It depends on the type of blow-off valve. So if it's just getting something to fit an existing platform, so just say a compact blow-off valve, where you just need a couple of changes to the flanges to make it fit.
Because
quite
you've already
simple.
got the R&D done to the
Correct.
internals.
On the main unit, it's just adapting.
Yep.
Versus something that is groundbreaking, something that's new, like the E-gate, that takes a lot longer. I also find with the design process, if you hit a wall, you could move on to something else. There's
Yep,
no
get
point
back
in
to
sitting there and just trying to work this out because if anything, you just work against yourself.
Yep.
The best is when you ignore it. You go,
Sleep
you know
on
what?
it.
Don't
Yep.
worry about it.
Yep.
And a couple of months later, you'll be driving and it's like, you know what? I got it. This is how we get over that problem and then the project starts back up again.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there any of those light bulb moments that stick out for you?
The collar design on all of our products. I was just explaining this to someone before. Where did we come up with that?
Yeah. Because that's the only thing in the market like that, right?
Yes, people have copied it, but we were the ones that utilised that design to
Yep.
secure a cap to a body.
Yep.
Now, back in the day, we on our old, I think Gen 3 or Gen 4 wastegates, we had the design of the cap where there was 6 M6 screws that held it all down, which worked. But, after you take the screw in and out, when you're changing springs, sometimes you can rip the threads out.
Yep.
There's a small thread. If you went to anything smaller than that, like an M5 screw, the threads are thinner, they rip out a lot easier. So how do you get around that if you want to try and make everything small?
Compact.
It's hard. We were still going to pursue the M5 route because, what if when you anodize the material, the surface becomes harder.
Yep.
So that ripping threads out is not as easy. So we're thinking, you know what, it'll be okay. At the time, we were building our RX-7 time attack car, and me and the general manager built that car and we were working on it. And I was in the suspension putting the coilovers in, and I looked at the coilover and went, that collar is roughly the same size as what we're trying to make here. It can support a quarter of a car. It's like, call it 300-400 kilos. Static. It's actually quite a lot of load. Maybe if we use that form of locking it together, we'll make the threads a lot bigger so they don't strip as easily.
Sure.
But it's strong enough to hold it all together. So we took a punt and we made some samples and went, hang on a second, this actually works. It makes the product a lot smaller. It's unique because no one else does it. Everyone does the screws. Let's run with it.
And it looks a hell of a lot cleaner.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the time, we were sort of met with a little bit of pushback going, it's a bit out there. Maybe we shouldn't do that. It was like, send it.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yep.
And
was that all internal talk?
Yeah, that was all internal.
People
talk.
don't like change.
Well, there's that uncertainty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we've been making wastegates with 6 bolts, M6 forever.
Yep.
Why change it if it's not broken? If you don't change, you never know.
That's pretty cool.
Turbosmart, going back a bit, Australian company. They're operating in, there's Turbosmart USA?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So we have head office, which is in Wetherill Park, Sydney, where we manufacture, design, marketing, sales, dispatch, all of that. We also have subsidiaries in USA, California.
Yep.
We have one in Birmingham, UK.
Yep.
And we also now have Europe in Poland.
Yeah. Right.
So we have bases around the world so that we can have product in the countries ready to be distributed quickly to our customers in those regions.
And is that owned by Turbosmart, or are they like sub-dealers?
No, they're owned by Turbosmart.
Owned by Turbosmart.
Yes,
Wow.
they are our staff.
Yeah, and the parts are still manufactured here in
Correct.
Sydney. Yeah, in Wetherill Park. That's
In
pretty
Wetherill
cool
Park.
when you think about it.
It's good to see. I mean, there's a lot of Australian companies. People don't really, when you start thinking, like naming names, let's combine New Zealand, because you got Link ECU, you got Haltech, Motec, a lot of inlet manifold companies are in Australia for some reason. CPC, Hypertune, Plazaman, we've got majority when it comes to motorsport manufacturing.
Yeah.
Considering how small the market is in Australia, it's quite small compared to the USA. We're lucky to have a lot of companies that have pushed it this far.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the biggest opposition for Turbosmart back in the day would have been Teal.
Yep.
Would you think? Imagine if Turbosmart were in the US back then. Because I feel like US people like to stick to their own product.
The US market is a very large market, but it's also a very hard one to get into. There are a lot of brands that come into the market and they're here this year. Are they going to be here next year?
Yep.
Or the year after or the year after? So you find that to enter that, you've got to know what you're doing. You got to be around for a while and to prove to the market that
You're there to stay.
You're here to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was always going to be difficult.
Yeah, that's right. And that support is ongoing. You basically have to put your money where your mouth is and make it happen.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you've done.
Yeah.
It's good to see.
So how many staff now has Turbosmart got?
In Wetherill Park, probably about 40.
About 40. Yeah.
And that's just
40.
here in Sydney.
That's with
here.
admin, assembly, and machining staff.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it's the American office got.
Probably 6. UK's probably got 2 or 3. Europe's got 1 at the moment because
Yep.
we just opened
It's only
that.
fairly small, yeah.
Yeah, we just started that beginning of this year.
And I guess they're not manufacturing. They're literally just stocking and packing, right? So,
Correct.
I mean, you can get out a lot of product with one person.
Correct.
And I guess these products don't really require too much tech support. As soon as you go to electronics, tech support.
Yeah, we learnt pretty hard and fast with the E-Gate and the black box set. The amount of questions that get asked are a lot more than, say, your simple blowoff valve.
Blowoff valve, yeah.
Although we still get plenty of questions
Really?
on even
Yeah.
these simple parts, yeah.
That makes it hard, doesn't it? And I guess you guys do retail them to places like Autobarn, like superstores, like
Yes.
So that's where you sort of skip the dealer from answering those questions,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And I guess online sales is probably impacted that as well.
Yeah.
Because anyone can buy it, and instead of ringing their dealer, they ring you guys.
Correct. We're also trying to be, up to date with our tech support so that there's enough documentation,
Online.
videos, whatever we need out there to stop the questions, and the picking up the phone call is sort of like a last resort. Like I remember back in the day, I used to get so many phone calls about how the hell do you set up an e-boost too? And you just keep on hearing the same thing over and over again. It's like, stuff it. Get a car, let's set it up from start to finish, wiring it all up, then getting on a dyno and how do you tune it, and here you go. And I'd go to shows like PRI or SEMA, and I was like, oh, you're that guy. You helped me tune my e-boost. I don't know you, but cool.
Sick.
Awesome.
Yeah, good.
But then after that, all the questions
It
stopped.
plateaued? Yeah. I still find there's people, I guess it's maybe laziness, instead of researching things like that or reading, I think videos definitely skips a level of laziness. People don't mind watching something and listening to something, but as soon as it's reading something, it's too hard.
Yeah.
And
Or they
they-
feel like they know it.
Well, they feel like they know it. But the amount of silly questions that we get about things, and it's like, oh, it's all there.
Well,
yeah.
we find the first thing we do is, have you read the instructions? Oh, no, I didn't do that. Well, if you did, right here is exactly
what you've asked
It's
is right
available
there.
online.
Right there.
Yeah, I'm going to read it out for you, and then you're going to go, thank you.
Yeah. So we had a couple of those today, even where it's like, mate, have you read the instructions? Like, no, just thought I'd give you a call.
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
Which, to be honest, I think I referenced the spring charts weekly
On paper.
On paper, yeah. Look it up on the website, find the part number, find the instructions, and without a doubt, I forget the spring chart,
me
spring
too,
colours.
don't worry.
Except it's
To
one
add a variable.
Yeah, a little bit harder for me.
He's
I'm
colourblind.
colourblind.
So we've got a guy who's colourblind, who's trying to match colour.
Well, that's why we have spring lengths and ODs and stuff.
Yeah.
It's for Joe.
So he's got the verniers out.
Yeah,
Doesn't go by
exactly.
colour.
No, I always get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shits me. He never just asks somebody else. Save half the time.
To sort it out.
So Brendan, what's your position, Turbosmart?
My position is the Asia Pac sales manager. I've been with the company for 13 years now. I think
Yeah, wow.
this year will be my 13th year.
That has
12th,
gone very
13th.
quick.
It has. So I met you kind of back
Would've
in
been
the
around that
day.
time.
Yeah, when you were kind of getting into the start of things. And yeah, it's just been a whirlwind. And to be able to see where the company's gone,
Yeah.
like we were talking about before, in Ashfield days, and just how much it's grown to this mega factory in Wetherill Park. It's just been insane and a crazy ride.
Yeah.
So my background was actually in finance, believe it or not, mortgages and home loans, that
Yep.
kind of thing. And it's just working in the city, wearing a suit, wasn't really for me. Same as Ricky's dad. My dad was always into cars. He had, the Trans Ams. We used to do burnouts on the way to school.
Yeah.
He had like a 300 ZX, and me and my brothers, we've always been into cars. So I thought, why not, do something I'm good at, which is sales and growing businesses, and
Yep.
actually applying that, just being in the automotive industry, and kind of took a step into it and never looked back. And I mean, like you said, just time flies.
Yeah.
It's just been a crazy
It's
ride.
good. And it's such a good industry in the sense that you get to meet so many smart people. You don't realize how smart some people are,
Yeah.
especially especially you. I guess you're probably dealing direct with engineers and whatnot. But at the same time, you probably get surprised by some.
They like to think they're smart.
Yeah. Don't worry, I've dealt with some smart people. But it's good that you get to. It's a mad industry for that.
It's so good. Yeah, it's very different.
yeah.
I mean, you get to go to car events and, be part of the motorsport industry and, meet some cool people. Even, I remember, I was going to bring this up. The first time I met Joe Cootamundra.
Yeah.
When was that? When did you
that
just
would've
come
been
on?
with the F6, with the orange F6?
Yeah.
Hoon Tune. Oh, that would have been 6-7 years ago, maybe.
Was that
Yeah.
was before
With, Sly
he crossed
310.
over to the dark side?
It was.
Yeah.
No, just when he made
Just
the
before.
crossover to
Yeah.
Precision.
So I think before that, there was the Flying 500 events. We had the F6 there.
Yep.
Had the Cootamundra events.
How'd you go
same
there?
Sort of thing. I don't remember.
I don't know if I've lost any.
Fastest
think
rear
one.
drive. Yeah,
Just
you-
one.
Fastest rear
you
wheel drive.
definitely won.
Is that a class? Is that a
It
class?
can be. We'll make it for
We'll
you.
make it.
No, but the first time I met Joe, when he came across the Precision, had some troubles with the GDR.
Right.
Joe didn't
Like that was
really...
about 4 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe didn't really know me at the time, and I think he just disappeared for a bit. Where'd you drive to? Canberra, and got a trailer?
Oh,
Remember
wow.
that?
Yes.
And I was like,
had
wow.
some issues.
Yeah, and he wouldn't take money for the trailer or anything, and it's just, that's the kind of person that Joe
Yeah.
is. And to meet
Yeah.
people like that in the industry, that it's racing, things break, and
Yeah,
just
yeah,
to
sure.
meet people that are willing to help you out. You drove me home, I think, from the event.
Oh, I don't
It
remember.
was just, it's just the people you meet in the industry, they're unlike people you meet in other industries.
Yeah, yeah.
People understand it's racing, things break, and they're all willing to stop what they're doing, stop racing and help out.
Yeah, it's like a family, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It's like a
Yeah.
big family.
That community spirit that just helps grow everything. There's no downside to it. I can't see.
No.
It doesn't help being hard-headed or being
No.
against anyone or anything. Or I guess that's sort of what helped us get to where we are in every way.
Yeah.
Treat everybody the same and make it happen.
Yep.
100%.
Exactly. Agreed. I think in a lot of other industries, it's cutthroat.
Yep.
And it's kind of either you or them. And it's always, people
A lot
just-
more politics.
A lot more politics. Yeah.
How do I balance the books at the end of this financial
Yeah.
year
Yeah.
to meet
Yeah.
shareholder demand?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different, eh? Yeah.
And with
It's not
racing,
as homely.
yeah, with racing, there's huge rivalry, but it's all friendly rivalry. Like on paper and Facebook and stuff, it looks like there's not animosity, but good rivalry between two workshops.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
We're ringing each other saying, hey, I'm going to write
Exactly.
this.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
what do you think?
So a
and
lot of
they're
people
like,
don't
yeah,
say
write
that.
that.
Yeah,
They
And it's a
don't-
big
people
G
don't
up.
get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
So it's
it's
just a lot of fun.
It's funny because we have one of our customers, George, who was stirring up Anthony Matuk online about the
I
roll
saw
racing.
some of that.
Yeah, so all of that was personal messages on the side talking about what they're talking about, and then you'll get the random unknown name backing someone and fighting.
Yes,
and it's
yeah.
like, oh,
They
stop,
pick a team.
Stop.
No, some get serious. It's like,
Yeah.
ooh,
Yeah.
that's
Like
not
they
required.
start throwing knives, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's like, hang on, stop, because
Yeah, it's all
this
in
is
good
this is a
jest.
joke,
Yeah,
and you're serious.
Yeah.
So now they're both looking at this other guy going, this guy's a Fruit Loop,
Yeah, yeah,
because you weren't involved in the personal messaging.
exactly.
Yeah, so you wouldn't change it then? That
No,
you're in.
not at all. I love it. Like
Yeah.
a bit of banter, and it's a great place to work.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
And you're always awesome for support in terms of community, and you're at every event. You sponsor every event. You
Yeah.
sponsor us. You sponsor a lot of people, a lot of things.
Yep.
Which is amazing to help things grow and help support not only your product but the community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like
So we like to give back and support the workshops that support us. Like you guys have come along to so many of our events, even events like World Time Attack. It's a lot of people don't realize it's a marketing exercise.
Yep.
It's not really about who's got the fastest car, and there is a bit of rivalry and fun between the workshops, but it's more promoting the businesses and working along with the workshops that support us. And that's why we love doing it.
Yep. So that's the Flying 500, and that's coming up soon. When is the
1st and 2nd of September, 2
And
months
that's-
away.
And just for people that don't know, so that's World Time Attack Challenge at Sydney Motorsport Park, and the Flying 500 is on both days.
Yep.
Is that right?
So we run an event within that event, and we've been doing it since the dawn of time, and it's a top speed run down the main straight backwards. You guys have come pretty much every year.
Yeah, I think we got
Yeah.
first and third last year,
Yep.
and Birong come second. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So top speed event, it's straight line, and do you get 2 runs per day? I think you do.
It depends how many competitors. We try
Yeah.
and get as many as possible. I think
Right.
last time people had a few runs, and
So you have like maybe a 30-minute session or something.
that's right. Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. So we've got some exciting things on the cards for this year. We've been trying to get roll racing approved. Shouldn't say roll racing, but that kind of side by side.
Style of event,
that
yeah.
kind of style. That format of racing. We've been trying to do it even before roll racing was a thing, and it's just been really hard to get across the line.
Yep.
But we finally got across the line with Motorsport Australia this year, so it's just going to be an insane event.
Is it roll racing or standing start?
Roll racing.
Roll
Yeah.
racing, and it's side by side.
Side by side.
Is it measuring speed at the top, and that's who wins, or no? It's whoever passes
It's
first.
whoever passes
So,
first.
so speed measuring is not a thing this year.
No.
Okay.
No. We might change it. I've actually got a meeting with the boys tomorrow and just going over the rules
Yeah,
and
sure.
how to make the event more exciting. But yeah, it'll be top 16 format and just knockout. So essentially, I mean, that's 15 races
Sure.
to
Yeah.
determine a winner. And you could ideally get 4 runs if you
Yeah.
win the event.
Yeah.
I guess that's all the hype at the moment. Everyone, that style of racing is
It is, yeah.
in and exciting, and like the amount of the crowd that sort of thing draws is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, have you seen you've been to the events. It's the
The roll-
stands are full.
The roll racing stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like both levels are full. All
Yeah.
the grandstands are full. It's just, I think people want to watch racing.
So the other thing to note is that these 16 cars are all going to be absolutely bullshit.
Mental.
Right.
We're talking 2,000
Crazy,
horsepower cars
dumb, silly,
on
yeah.
an unprepped surface.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be silly.
So not even the cars that you see on a whatever it is,
Your typical roll racing.
or even your workshop challenge or
Yeah.
your state of origin challenge, because you guys have got methanol fuel approved, right?
Yeah, we do.
So next step up. Right, I don't know how we're going to go with that.
It'll just be
interesting, yeah.
insanity. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be fun watching the
I
guys trying to
think,
get the power down.
Was King 32 the last one or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah.
And actually, Metro was.
I think we still won. Is that right?
Well, that's the thing. It's not because it's an unprepped
Don't dream up.
surface. Yeah,
It's not worth
I
it.
see where you're going with
First,
this.
Cut.
Well, no, Mitooks will be there. You know, CRD will be there. You guys will be there. A lot of the bigger workshops with those big cars. The gas racing boys will be there. Yeah, it's just going to be a crazy
Yeah.
event.
yeah, I'm just thinking of all these cars, and there's some serious cars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So-
I think if you haven't got 2,000 horsepower, try and put down, because let's face it, you really can't.
Mm.
Yeah.
You're going to
Like,
have problems.
When we
go-
started
and-
the event, we were looking for, 500 horsepower cars plus. Then it went to 800. Then it was 1,000. Now 1,500. Now we're looking at 2,000. Like, it's just
Yeah.
insane.
I remember
Yeah.
being a thing, like it was an exciting thing to be able to come to it. So my first one was in an F6 Sly 310. That was probably 7 years ago now. And it was the hype of CUDA and that street style of racing cars that were there. And yeah, we thought we were fast back then, but you can't compare.
Compare that to now, the
Yeah,
cars
ridiculous.
that are racing
Yeah.
now, and actual street cars like
Yeah.
RHM, and
It's funny how
just-
horsepower has sort of changed what was big maybe 10
It's
years
crazy.
ago versus 5 years ago to now. It's like, don't even talk if you haven't got more than 1,500 horsepower.
Yeah.
It's just another grocery getter.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've all done street racing in the past, maybe,
Yeah.
whether you want to talk about it on here or not.
In Mexico.
In Mexico. Remember when you used to go to Mexico and there used to be that guy and he had 300 kilowatts and you'd be like, oh, don't race him. Like he's too fast.
See, that's on C16, right?
Oh, it's-
Avgas? Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be the Avgas days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Avgas.
I guess
Yeah.
talking about
Polyolene.
that, like demand and more power, that's would have changed what yous have had to manufacture to suit.
yeah.
Like, just thinking about fuel supply. So I think yous have a mechanical fuel pump style of reg now.
Now we do.
Yeah.
Yep. But back in the day when we first started, when we first came out with the FPR range, normal base fuel pressures were 40 psi. So you design around that.
Yeah.
Needs to maintain 40 psi with these style pumps. All good. A few years later, base pressures change, 60 psi. Now pumps are bigger. And suddenly your product can't really work as well in those environments. So you've got to make a revision.
Yep.
Next thing, people are running these types of fuels. Oh, crap, this material's not good. You've got to sort of keep on changing
Yep.
with the market. And the market moves fast.
Yes.
Because everyone's tinkering. Everyone's trying to break the boundaries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And these are the things that people don't think about when you've released a new range. It's not that there's an issue with the old one or anything like that. It's not just aesthetic changes. There's a lot of design that goes into it behind the scenes.
Well, let's talk about wastegates, right? Because that made a massive shift. You guys done a lot of testing with heat cycling and all that.
Yes.
You were letting me know, I think, a few years ago about that, right?
Yeah.
There was a heap of heat, and that was because you were going to get a contract with someone. I don't think it went ahead or something like that, but you did a lot of testing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we
Someone
talk about that?
Someone wanted to engage us.
Yeah,
in,
we'll just keep it at
making
someone,
some-
I think.
making some products, and
Yes.
they had some fairly stringent requirements
Yep.
that we tried to adhere to.
Yes.
And we did, but that fell apart. Didn't matter. We now had this kick-ass rate. It forced us
To make a
to
better
redesign
product.
Like a NASA
and
spec
relook
waistcoat.
at things
Yeah.
to meet this target. And this target, when we were told, it's like, Jesus, it's
not
ridiculous.
It's not obtainable. Yep.
It's unobtainable, but if you work at it hard enough, you can get it. So, one of the test constraints was 1 million cycles at elevated temperatures, like
Yep.
1 million cycles. How do you get an oven, bake the thing and cycle it 1 million times up, down, full stroke? So it'd
Yep.
be a week of cycling,
Yep.
and make sure that the coating on the valve stem and the guide all held up. On a normal race car, that's just stupid.
Yep.
Why the hell would you
It'll
ever
never
want to
do
do
it.
that?
Yeah.
But at this other level of testing, that was a requirement, and that's
Yep.
what they'd be checking for. How much heat could the thing take? Was another. So with a wastegate, all the heat pretty much comes from the exhaust gas
Sure.
flowing through the body. Now, eventually, everything will like to become
Match.
equilibrium,
Yep.
right? So it's about slowing down the heat transfer from the bottom side that's in contact with the exhaust gas to the diaphragm, because the diaphragm's the weakest part,
Sure.
right? It's an elastomer. It will fail at a certain temperature. It's a high temperature,
Yep.
but it will still fail at that temperature. It's a lot lower than what the exhaust gas is.
Yep.
So the requirement for us was 1100 EGT for 30 minutes straight. Like no car does that.
No
I
car
don't
can
think
do
the
that. Yeah.
No
engine's
car
gonna
does that,
last
but
that. Yeah.
that's the target.
Sure.
Okay, cool. Get a gas
Melt your
stand.
piston.
We developed our own gas
Exactly.
stand, and we flowed gas through it, and we tested our old stuff and went, okay, this is where this fails. Where do the competitors lie? This is where that's, and then we start working out, well, how quickly is heat transferring to this part and this part and this, and how can we start to isolate it?
Yeah.
So on our Gen V wastegates, we use ceramics to isolate the bottom housing to the actuator,
Yep.
but also the guide that goes through the actuator into the body, we have an isolator there as well, so that there is no direct contact between the actuator that we're trying to keep cold and the hot side.
Yep.
We also use different materials inside to constrain the diaphragm to slow down the heat transfer going through the diaphragm supports into the diaphragm. So hand on heart, our wastegate's going to handle the most amount of temperature anyone can throw at it and more. And then that's even before we talk about water cooling,
Yeah. Yeah.
which they don't
need it. Yep.
However, we have to try and make a product that caters for as many people as possible. And some people are just adamant that they need water cooling. So it's there. And we've done it in a way that there's less failure points compared to how other people do it.
Yep.
Yeah, wow. I'm just picturing that there's a picture going or a video going around of the wastegate on a bottle,
gas stand,
on a gas tank that's glowing red and
Correct.
still working, still being used.
Yep. So that needs to handle that temp for 30 minutes.
Yep.
And with water cooling, you can essentially touch the actuator because whatever the coolant temp is whatever that actuator sort of holds the entire time. So indefinitely, it could run at that temp.
Yeah.
That's
it's amazing.
awesome. Yeah. I don't think we've ever tested one to those limits.
No.
I don't think anyone.
I mean, it makes me think, have the wastegates ever been used in a commercial situation? Like instead of just motorsport? Because I feel like that there'd probably be many uses for them.
Well, essentially, it's just a bypass valve.
A valve, but
It's
that
just
can
a valve.
operate at that temp.
Correct.
And I mean, at the price point.
Correct.
I mean, in the commercial market, you'd be spending thousands of dollars for one unit.
Which we've had people actually reach out to us and go, oh, well, look, I've got a generator
Yeah.
that requires an actuator. Yours looks similar to what I've been replacing with.
Sure.
How much is it? You tell them the price. I'm like, geez,
Oh.
is that for
All of it?
all of it? Or do I need to buy all of these bits? It's like, no, it's actually all of it.
Yeah.
It's a very different market. The motorsport industry is very different.
It's very
from
cheap.
Industrial.
Very,
Yeah.
very cheap. Which makes you think that the market or the industry is terrible. Right? But all it does is just make it harder to succeed because it limits the amount of money you can throw at things, which means it takes longer to get where you get. Because, I mean, if this industry was in the commercial market for, let's just say it was for generators and diesels and whatnot that are on ships, the prices of things would be ridiculous.
Correct. And at that price point, you can be a little bit more silly with material choices. You can
Sure.
get a bit more fancy with machining. You can get fancy with a lot more things because that price point allows
it.
The motorsport industry and the enthusiast industry is a very different level of money.
Yes.
So we have to make sure that the product suits that profile. We can make it out of anything. We can make it as crazy and as complex as possible. But is it a viable product that a business can sell and be able to expand and sustain? That's a different story. Yeah. Like our machinery has 4 or 5 of our CNC machines have full 5-axis simultaneous capability. They can profile surfaces, high speed, spindles, the works. So that part, you can sit there and whittle away at the material and make some awesome shape. Is the customer going to pay for it?
The
No.
machine time.
There's a price point at which people are okay to take.
Yep.
And you can always make up for it with features, but there's still a ceiling to that. Can't go crazy with it.
So does that mean you work backwards when it comes to design? You go, right, this is going to be the market price and then work backwards, or not really? It's
Not
hard to
really.
work like that.
It's hard. We're enthusiasts. So
Yeah.
when we design things, it's how
You're
we want
thinking,
it.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. What would I want on my car? How would I design it? How would I want it to look? And then we start looking at the market. Well, what's out there similar to this? Or is there anything like that? What's their price point? What are the good points of those products? What are the bad points? What are things that we can improve on? Then we start looking at the design and sort of come up with a concept that And with most parts, we know the general shape. We know roughly what certain things cost. And we'll go, well, we could probably make it for this point. Is it viable? If it's not, then we can either investigate on stripping pieces out of it to meet a price point, or sales might turn around and go, you know what, if it had these features and it solves this issue,
You'll get that money.
We'll get
and it
that
doesn't
money.
cost us anything extra to get that feature.
Correct. So it's a collaboration between sales and engineering and marketing just to design a product to suit the market.
Yeah.
And we have a very wide range of products. We have entry-level products. We have very high-end products.
Yeah.
And they're designed in a way to cater for those price points.
And I guess that's also transformed into the modern tech cars that have electronic blow-off valves or wastegates or whatever. So you then need to adapt to that as well. So you need to get your hands on one of those models and design or modify your current model to suit.
Or if they require something completely different where we have to take something that's existing and modify it in a way to actually make it fit, well, is it worth modifying the bare basics for that platform? There are platforms that we make stuff for. It's not really worth it.
Yeah.
But we did it to help someone out. As an example.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is worth it. So we will make bespoke products for that particular car because it's such a high volume popular car that it's actually worth it.
What is the most popular product, Brendan? Do you know off the top of your head?
For Australia,
Yeah.
probably a 50 mil wastegate.
50 mil wastegate.
50 mil wastegate.
50 mil wastegate.
We love them in Australia.
Is that because people just overdo things?
I think so.
No,
I think
what are they going on?
Capacity, like a Barrow, you'll put a 50 on.
Yeah, that's great. That's one engine.
most,
Anything else?
There's a lot of
RBs, people just banging
It's a lot of
out
barriers.
It's a lot of barriers.
RBs, JZ,
50 mil gates sort of like that covers everything. Yeah, it can be too big.
The
it
body
can be
doesn't
too
get
small,
too
but
big.
Yeah,
I guess
just
that's
sort
true.
of works.
So it doesn't get too big.
It's a happy medium where you don't really need to think too much about it and you know
Exactly.
it's going to work. And
That's the thing.
That's what it is. You could probably size it down and go 45.
We put 45s on pretty much everything.
Well, if you're
Pretty
running
much.
enough boost, it's
Not
not a
the
problem. But yeah.
A lot of people that don't know, they think, oh, you're running, you got more boost, you need a bigger gate.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I need a smaller gate.
It's the other way around. And then choice comes down to manifold as well, which people don't think of.
100%.
So they call us and they're like, oh, I'm getting, a bit of boost spike or boost creep. And it's like, what manifold have you got? It's like, oh, my mate built it for me.
Yeah.
It's like, you
It's
can
a
have a
problem.
look at it.
Yeah.
And there's no gate priority, nothing. And it's off at a weird angle. And
Yep.
the exhaust gas has to go backwards. And you're like, oh, well, it's not really
You
going to
put
work.
a 60 mil on that,
Exactly,
it's not gonna
gonna
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the point where you had to put that into your manuals as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with diagrams
Yeah.
and spell it
Gas
out for 'em.
flowing this
Yeah.
way. If it looks Do not put your gate down here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's the other thing. Like when we do our manifold, that is a thought.
Priority to wastegate
Yeah.
is,
So, I mean, on the V10 platform, we run two 45 mil gates,
Yeah.
Yep.
one on each bank,
could probably
So-
get away with 40s.
You would be able to. With the way that we have them, the design, you'd be able to get away with 40. You run 45s and you can put 3 pound springs in them and it'll work. And they rev to like 9,500, 9,000.
Yeah, wow.
So,
With stable, like consistent boost.
Dead flat.
Just
Yeah.
flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flat line. Yeah.
and the blow-off valves would have to be a big thing, right? 50
Oh,
mil blow-off
huge.
valve.
Yeah.
That would have to be the most common. No?
No, we've done
Over
a
wastegate?
report. Yeah. Yeah.
Wastegate's the most
Yeah.
common, 50
Yeah.
mil.
And how's that changed over time?
It's the 50 mil gate's always been at the forefront. Surprisingly, I mean, we do sell a lot of boost tees and FPRs but the gate's kind of in terms of the most popular product. It's always been up top.
Boost tees are up the top.
Boost
Still.
tees
In terms of
yeah.
numbers, they're pretty
Wow.
high up there.
How? Why?
Because the majority of people aren't building 1,000 kilowatt
I
race
think we've
cars.
bought 2 in 2 years.
Yeah, but look at your shop. It's a different
Different
target
caliber
market.
of
Yeah.
car.
Us? Yeah, I just didn't think that was a thing anymore.
If you look at
No,
the
that's-
majority of the market,
The Mustang packages come factory with them.
Oh, okay, so we've
Yeah, we bought a couple.
we've bought 4 in 2 years.
But we find a lot of people like bolt-on stuff too.
Yeah.
So our EM range is really, really popular simply because people like to buy a car. They like to modify it to a way that they can enjoy the car, get a bit more power, but everything's reversible.
Sure.
So it's like a package. I'll put this on, I'll bolt everything up, drive the car for a couple of years. You know what? I'll take all the parts off, I'll flog the car, I'll sell the parts, I'll get another car, and I'll do the same again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So EM pack, what was that?
EM blow-off valves. So the ones that are direct replacement for the
Oh, yes.
electronic blow-off valves on like the Euro stuff and a lot of the Japanese stuff that's coming out with them now.
Yep.
So they're just a nice, easy, simple, remove the old one, bolt the new one, and away you go.
And that's electronic, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
so it still works off the electronic control signal. The boost pressure goes through the body into the top through a solenoid to pressurize the piston to keep it closed. And then when you get off the throttle, or when the ECU wants the valve to open, it just activates the solenoid to bleed the air out so that there's a pressure differential over the piston.
And that opens it up.
That's it. We sell bucket loads.
Yeah, wow. And no codes on the dash. The ECU thinks it's still there.
No. We like to do a lot of testing on an EM before we say it's fine to go.
Yep.
And one of the test procedures is throttle chopping.
Yep.
So where you full throttle, get off, and then back onto it straight away to upset the valve, and it needs to reseal.
Yeah.
It's always fun to try.
Did you get someone in Bankstown to do that?
No, they just let me drive the car. Brendan, go take it out.
Yeah, Brendan's the guy. Yeah. Throttle chop.
Brendan, you throttle chop.
Oh yeah,
Come over here.
He's got no mechanical sympathy at all.
Yeah, we know.
Stone cold car out the driveway, sideways.
Oh God, this is why he's best suited to an OE car.
Yeah, no, he's suited for your ute. Just no power.
Yeah.
Definitely saves the license.
Sorry,
as well.
mate.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, very good.
How's it grown internationally? So obviously, like you spoke earlier about opening up all those international wholesalers or warehouses. How long did it take to get to that point where you're starting to sell bulk overseas?
So how long have we had the American office for?
Look, the American office has been open for a long time, probably say 15 years.
Wow.
However, it has been a long grind to get into that market. It probably really, really took off in the last 8 years, I'd say.
Yep.
I'd say even less than that.
Yeah,
In terms of comparing sales, obviously an Australian company, home ground, most people in Australia use Turbosmart. In America, like we were saying before, they're very patriotic, and it was, using American brands. But just comparing the sales, even within the last 5 years, and seeing how much further America's gone, just due to the potential there with population and obviously brand awareness, it's just taken off. So it used to be kind of neck and neck, I'd say, in terms of Australian sales versus American sales. Now they're doing 2-3 times what we're doing.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, they've got a lot more people, and that market is not afraid of tinkering at all. And it's not uncommon that the one person has multiple vehicles for summer, winter, spring, autumn, and go to the desert and the snow, and I want my jet ski as well. And I've got my trailer, and I've got my land, and I can do whatever I want. Like, it's all about freedom.
Yeah.
Right?
Freedom.
So
Freedom.
America.
Freedom. So one person, that one customer is not buying one or two parts. They're buying a catalogue for multiple cars.
Sure. Yeah.
And they're not afraid to tinker. I've been at shows where you'll have some old guy that comes up and goes, well, I don't know anything about turbos. Oh,
In that accent?
No, not in that accent.
Where?
Oh, they love my accent.
I don't know about turbos, but
I don't know anything about these things, but I'm going to give it a go. Okay, what are you building? Oh, I'm going to get an LS. I'm going to twin turbo it. Why are you starting there?
Yeah.
Dude, you have no idea. I come from carburetors. Maybe stay there and work your way up, not jump straight into it. But they're not afraid of that.
yeah.
I guess technology has made it easier for people to get into it. And awareness, like you have done with everything, all your promotion and brand awareness, I guess you could say, has made it easier for people to get into it and understand how it works, or what. Some people still don't know the difference between a wastegate and a blowoff valve, to be fair.
Yes. Some. Some. A lot.
But I think a lot of what you have done for the brand has educated people on that, which is awesome to see and really reflects in the quality of everything that you do.
Yeah, for sure. You're right in that sense. In terms of brand awareness and people learning about products, if you compare the conversations you've had, even with tech support from 10 years ago to now, they're chalk and cheese. I mean, when I started with the company, every second phone call was, oh, what noise does my blowoff valve make? And can you make it over the phone? It's like, mate, I'm not going to do that. No, I swear. It was, I think they all wanted that flutter noise, and it was just crazy. We get some pretty
That was the
respectable.
300 kilowatt days.
It was the 300, exactly. To the tech calls that you get now of the average tinkerer, they're very switched on. A lot of people are doing, if they can weld, they're doing a lot of the build themselves minus the tuning.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you guys get customers like that. It's like, hey, I've built this. Like, can you help me tune it?
Yeah.
We're pretty selective.
So the way you answered that, that can you make that sound over the phone? That's how we. That's how we think when it's like, hey, I built my car.
Can you tune it?
In saying that, there's been some great ones. Marcelo, for example.
There has. Trust me, when we get a build that comes in and it's been done by themselves, and we look at it and we're like, fuck, this is exactly how we would have done it. In fact,
doing the job.
You've spent more time on it than what we could have been able to charge you. So this is fantastic. And we do get that.
Yeah, that's happen. Not very common, but it happens.
It does happen. It does happen.
And on the other end of that spectrum, you'd get the people asking for the blow-off valves. They go build a car and bring it in and maybe tow it in, and you're like,
I can usually tell the customer, if we've dealt with them before and sold them a Motec catalogue, it's going to come back good. And take that as you wish. But that sort of tells me exactly what they're going to do.
It's a certain caliber of people.
Person.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's what I say to people. I go, if you use good parts, that car will sell for more money than what you think it would later on.
100%.
Because you can just tell by, if you mention certain names or brands that you've used, you can tell the car's not a piece of shit.
Yeah, it's changed from, say, 15 years ago where just slap a car together with whatever you could find and try and make it work. The caliber of cars nowadays is very different.
Yeah, yeah.
On that note, you mentioned an S14 earlier. What was your first car?
That was my
was
first car.
Yeah, wow.
Geez, engineers got paid well.
Yeah.
Well, actually, my dad bought me that.
That's a brand new car, right?
No, back then. So I finished school. My dad saved up some money for me and said, money's yours, do as you please.
If you become an engineer.
No.
I'm going to get an S14.
I'm Asian, but not that Asian.
I was gonna move on to that.
So
Ched.
Don't
Go
do
do
it.
it. You have to do it.
Do
You
it.
started.
I'll keep thinking. Go.
So I was on my. We started looking at cars, and I had this thing for S chassis at the time, and all I could afford at the time was a 180. So I found one on my way to put a deposit on it, and he was totally against me buying an import car.
Yeah.
Like he just didn't want it to happen. But hey, my money, I can do what I want. So on the way, and then we pass a Nissan dealership, the one where it's off Parramatta Road on the corner. It used to be called Cullen's Nissan.
Right.
That's now a motorbike shop just before you go onto the motorway.
Okay,
So it used to be, there was an S14.
Is that Fraser's?
I think it was Fraser's now. Used to be a white S14 was parked there. The S15 just came out, so their prices were going down. And he saw it and went, come on, let's go and look. I'm like, why waste time? We're going to go pick up this car. I can't afford that. It's like, no, we're going to go. Go there, look at the car. He's like, do you like it? I go, of course I like it, but I can't buy it.
You showed me the
Can't
Rolls
afford
Royce
it.
that I'm going for a Bentley.
Yeah, let's just get out of here. There's no point in talking to the sales guy.
Yeah.
He goes, we'll go talk. And he starts talking. He's like, done, we'll take it. I'm like, how the f- am I supposed to afford this? He's like, don't worry about it. Sort it out. So that was my first car.
Wow.
And that sort of set me on the path of tinkering with it. So while friends were, I had a select group of friends that were all into tinkering cars. So every weekend we would be in someone's garage pulling something apart.
Yeah.
And because I was the engineer and I liked to take stuff apart, I was the go-to mechanic of pulling shit apart.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, wow.
Was that an S14A, like the Series 2?
Yeah.
And what year was this again?
This
03.
I bought that car in probably 2001, 2002.
And what year model was this one?
97. I always loved that shape.
So that's the first year of the Series 2, wasn't it? 96 was
they're
the
97 was the
98.
first
Yeah,
of the Series
yeah,
2s.
yeah.
Yeah, and at 2001, I think the S15 came out.
That's
'Cause they
right.
came out
Yep.
Or 99.
99
actually.
Japan. Yep.
Yeah. So the S15 just came out. Another mate of mine had a yellow S15. We were all into our S chassis then because they were cheap, affordable.
Man,
you
I
could bash
couldn't
them
get
around.
one in. So about 2006. And they were like way like 2D. I paid 30 grand for my S14 back then.
Wow.
What did you pay for do you remember?
25.
Cheap.
Yeah. 24 back then.
Mine was the
heaps.
2000 model.
Just out of uni, it was
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
he's
30
still
grand
paying his
back
dad
then
back.
was like 55 grand now. Like that's how it feels.
Yeah.
60 grand.
When I drove the S14, I was like king.
Yeah.
Dude, how the hell do you afford that?
Yeah.
Dad's money.
Yeah.
Dad sorted me out.
Crazy rich Asian.
Oh, he loved cars too. So
Yeah.
although he never drove it, I let him drive it once. He drove it for half an hour to pick up my sister from school. And in that half an hour, he scratched 2 rims, scratched the like he did all of this. How the hell do you do that in half an hour?
Drifting.
Why is this car so low? Why is this? Why is it so loud? It's like, why'd you take it? There's a perfectly good Corolla next to it.
Because he owns it.
Yes.
It's his car.
Yeah, it's true.
What colour?
White.
Yeah.
White. And then I had all stickers on it. And then I did a lot of track racing with it. I was pretty much, I built the car to a point where I took it to Wakefield every month for 2 years.
Wow.
And just had fun. Back in the day, it was with Circuit Club, and we just did lap after lap after lap. And it was just a fun car. I had it to a point where I liked it, and it could just do it reliably.
Yeah.
That's what I stuck to.
Were any products tested on your car from Turbosmart?
This was before I started in Turbosmart.
But you had it when you went to Turbosmart though, right? Or no?
Yeah, and then not long after I got rid of it. So when I had my S14, the only thing I put on it was an e-boost 2 and a blowoff valve.
Yeah.
And then after that, I sold the car because I wanted something a bit more sensible because it was very track orientated.
Yep.
2-way diff,
Sure.
semis,
Yeah.
really hard.
And what did you end up getting?
Bought an MX-5.
What the hell?
Just hear me out. Just hear me out. All right. Small car,
Convertible.
chassis.
Looking for a missus.
So I turbocharged that in the mindset that how could I have a car that I could take to the track but also drive every day?
To the beach.
You know what? I love the convertible thing. I still have an MX-5.
Right. Okay.
So from that,
I'm picturing your hair blowing in the wind.
well, everyone said that, I would say it would have to be raining for the roof to be up.
Right.
So it was always down,
Always
and
down.
I loved cruising that car. Just loved it.
When you race it though? When you race it?
When you
race it,
Yeah.
you took it to the track, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you got the roof down.
back then I had a roll bar.
Right.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it was okay to have the roof
Sure,
down.
yeah.
So that car, Turbosmart actually used for the first Super Lap event in Oran Park.
Right.
Right, so our GM, who was production manager at the time, he raced it for us, and this was when it was called Super Lap
Yep.
at Oran Park. And then there was one more event, still Super Lap, and then before it became World Time Attack.
World Time Attack. Yep.
Yep, so we're talking
Yeah, well,
Long time ago.
Before my time.
long
Yeah.
time
Yep.
ago. What else do I have? Then I went to an RX-8. That was short-lived. That was,
Yep.
I think, 4
The
or
engine
5
or-
months.
That's
The
not
whole
your fault.
car.
Yeah.
Like it was a pretty car, if that was your thing, but god damn, it was thirsty and slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
So it was pretty.
I thought it was
And what do you
pretty
think the MX-5 was?
cute.
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 Oh, so he's done well. Tell me, did you pick it back up? Did you bring it back up?
Okay, so after that, because at that point I looked after engineering, so I was driving R&D cars.
Yep.
So from that, we went to an Evo 8,
Ooh.
then went to a Golf GTI, then went to an Evo 10, then went to a Fiesta ST, then went to a A45, then went back into an ST, a Fiesta ST.
Why did that happen?
We developed product for that platform, and then we had refinements that we needed to make to that product.
So you
And it
need
was
the
just
car back.
easier to just buy the car.
Of course it is. Yeah.
So we'll just buy the car and we'll do what we need to
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Back to then, and then after that, I've just been driving utes. But
Yep.
then I bought my dream cars after that, so that's
Yeah.
fine.
What's your dream car?
I bought an R34 GDR, and I didn't know why. I've always wanted a GDR, but I've always wanted an R34, and I didn't notice until after I bought the car, I started looking back. Every picture that I ever took when I was at car shows and events and all of that was always of an R34 GDR back
Right.
when I was growing up. My dad was always a lover of the R33 GTR.
Wow.
He was always banging on about it. And he bought Tamiya models, those little plastic models.
Yes.
And he built an R33 and he built an R34. We used to have them in my room.
Yep.
So this was back when I was in school. So I was always looking at this car. And when the opportunity came up to buy one, I bought one. And I had a set of cars that I've always wanted, but top of the list was the R34
R34 GDR.
I was glad because of what they've done to prices. But
Yeah.
because it's at a certain price point now, it's like, I don't really want to drive it. But
Sure.
taken the plunge, and I've bought a whole bunch of parts to fully restore that car.
Yep.
I've also got a RX-7
Yep.
Spirit R,
Ooh.
which is in mint condition, low kilometers, which I absolutely enjoy. And I have a MX-5 SE, which is the turbo version of it
Right.
that I use.
Can you cut that bit out, the last bit? Because it sounded cool before that.
He was building up. Why do we have to crash on a lot?
Because it's the truth. I really enjoy that car.
We said
I like
dream
that
cars.
Well, so I've got these 3 cars.
Yeah.
The RX-7 will stay stock because I like it that
I'm
way.
assuming you don't drive that much, or you do?
Not that much.
What
no.
colour's that? Like
That's that titanium
yeah, right.
that the Spirit R's came out
Yeah.
of.
And
fully
the
stock.
R34?
The R34 is white.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So the R34, I've collected parts over the last 2 or 3 years that I've had it, and now I've just started working on it. So
Yeah, right.
it's in pieces in my garage now with the front suspension out, ready for new bushes and suspension and brakes.
Yeah.
New engine, yeah. So
Very
I'm a
nice.
tinkerer, but trying to juggle playing with hobbies and
Yes.
a family, very
Yep.
difficult.
Yep, I get it.
Brendan, what was your first car?
I'm going to get shot for this, but it was actually a VL Turbo.
No way.
Yeah.
I
You
would not
see
have
his
picked
rat
that.
tail growing? His mullet?
I think I did have a mullet at the time. Actually, no, the first car was the NAVL, and then a few months later, I sold that and got a VL Turbo. It was a ex-cop car, BT1, like
cop
shift
chip.
kitted auto.
Yeah.
Awesome car. Like, I actually really miss it. A lot of power back then for, someone so young. I think I was 18 at the time. Went through a few VLs, then found my love for Nissans and haven't looked back since. So I think I was trying to count the other day, I've probably had close to, I wouldn't say 15, maybe 13 180s.
Wow.
What
Just
the-
love them, from Type X's, RB swapped ones.
I love the Type X's.
Yeah, the best. Then moved up from there to 35 GTR, which you guys did the PR6 package on. Best car ever.
Yeah.
Then a few Euros in the mix there as well. Had RS3. What else did I have? Golf R.
Yeah, BMW.
Sirocco.
Yeah, I had the M3, which
Yeah.
I just sold. That was a fantastic car. Best all-round car.
Yep.
Just handling, street presence, performance around the track. It was just, unreal car. Kind of
Yeah.
carless at the moment, but you guys know what my ultimate car is, the R8. So
Oh, the Audi R8.
I've been banging on for a while about it, but I'll probably,
Keep on telling him, just do it.
do
Just
it.
scratch
Nah.
the itch. Come on.
after I finish renovating the house and get married and stuff, it's definitely on the cards.
Yeah, so they should be.
needs to be done
We should be able
before
to
then. Otherwise
get
it's not
historic
gonna
rego
happen.
by then.
Yeah.
Time flies though, right?
It does.
So, I mean,
absolutely.
I've got customers that from the Evo days. I was like, we need to get you in a GDR, and they sort of skipped that time period of now. They might as well just get into the V10 platform.
Absolutely. Yeah, they've
Yeah.
missed it
They
completely.
missed it.
Yeah.
I mean, they
Yeah.
can still do it,
Yeah.
but don't do it and then go, oh, maybe I should have just done the V10. It's sort of newer and but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean they're not good. They're still absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Each to their own. It's
Yeah.
I tell people all the time that the V10s have ruined me. I can't modify another car.
Yep.
Can't do it. Like, I've got this idea in my head at the moment of I'm playing around with like an old school car, Fox Body or a Capri or something to go racing with. But
Anyone's put a V10 in?
yeah, well,
Now that would be cool.
would be
That
cool.
would be cool.
That would be awesome, and it's your own little touch.
But I keep going back to the R8. You sit in it and it just does everything right.
yeah,
It's like, man,
aircon,
can't-
virtual
Yeah, then you've
dash,
actually got a car
comfort.
you can drive on the weekend and race on the weekend.
Exactly. Yeah, but
So-
it does those kind of cars. Even jumping in your guys' twin turbo Huracan at Cuda, it does ruin. My brother's got supercars, and you jump in like a 3RS, and you jump into it, and you're literally flooring it, redlining every gear, and it's like, it feels
Not
like
going anywhere.
Feels like an MX-5.
Come on.
Until you take turn one.
No,
Well,
but-
he's had it. He's come and he's like, oh, how'd the GT3 RS go? He's like, oh yeah. Like, what do you mean? Oh yeah.
Yeah, but hang on. Did you drive it on the road or
no,
the
on
track?
the track
On
as
the
well.
track?
Yeah,
And he's like,
What
what?
kind of times did you do?
I didn't time it. It's
Yeah, okay.
not my
Yeah.
car. I didn't want to.
Makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense.
Bring it back in
That
two
can be
pieces.
boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you start to push, and that's when you realize it's like, okay, this car is dumb. I to be honest, I sort of hated the Porsches. I guess the emotion that it would give you on the road, It's boring, a little bit boring. It sounded great, but you have to rev it to 9,000. So you don't do that on the road. It's just tame and...
They really come alive at the track. You have to.
Oh, you go
have
to the track and
experience.
it's the best. I can never not have one.
Yeah, but driving on the straight, it's quite tame and...
Yeah, that's where Lambo, Audi, they give you all that raw emotion noises and
just
all
even
the right
the G-forces that you feel. Like in the Porsche, you don't really feel much, right?
No.
But it's back corner speeds.
very linear.
Yeah.
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 But take that on the track and it works.
It's a good platform for the track for sure.
Awesome platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to do it, man. Just do
Oh.
it.
What? So the ultimate car for you is V10.
Yeah, probably like
Audi
a twin
R8.
turbo Audi R8. Just need to
colour?
find a workshop that can do it.
Yeah.
What colour? Has to be black. I
Yeah.
love black. Just blacked out everything.
Yeah, I like black too.
Yeah. It just looks tough.
Do
Can you
yours.
read out Nick Bauer's comment?
Do
Or
the
is it
ones online.
Not suitable for TV.
No, it was tame. It was just, it must be an inside joke. How good are CP Lancers?
Oh, that's because he has a CP Lancer.
Oh,
And he thinks it's the equivalent to... It's what Hong sees in MX-5 as he sees as like a twin turbo
Wow.
Yeah, I shouldn't
Lamborghini.
have said it.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have said it.
It's a great car. It's a driver's car, apparently. The MX-5.
It is, but I have the other cars to try and make up for its lack of masculinity.
you're giving him a
Driver's
complex.
car.
No, he's got some cool cars, Hong.
Ask Brendan what a raceport blow-off valve sounds like.
Oh, it's one of those tech calls.
You can just open a YouTube clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you a link.
Another one, can Brendan and Richard demonstrate their favourite turbo sounds?
Tell me this is what you guys do at work.
This is all we do at work.
This must
yeah.
be inside joke. Yeah.
So engineering, we have another facility because our factory's too small to actually have engineering there. So they've got a little factory down there.
And they always have to be separate, don't they?
Yeah. They
Well-
can't put up with each other. Yeah. It's the
we try it. Preferably that we're all under the same roof, but
Yeah.
we just can't have that right now. So they started in the back left of the factory, and then we chucked the machine there, so they had to move to the center of the factory, and then we put a machine there, and then they moved to the back corner. Then we put racking there for stock. Then we moved it to the front. Then more racking went up. So it was like, you know what? Let's give you a place where you can actually lay out your tools, lay out everything you need, dyno, machinery, fabrication tools, so you can tinker and have you based there away from all the clutter of everyday life at head office.
Yep.
And the guys like to, one of the guys there, who shall remain unnamed,
Yeah.
likes to make blow-off valve noises all day, every day.
You're joking.
No,
Every
it's-
single day.
Yeah. And if he stops doing it, I feel like something's wrong.
Something's
You're
wrong.
like, dude, you're all right?
it's become part of the atmosphere.
It's
Yeah.
become part of the atmosphere.
This is one of the
Who is this
engineers.
Alex will stay unnamed.
So this is one of the engineers, or
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're always surrounded, and Brendan will be familiar. It'll just sound like a VL dose. All day.
Mate,
How does it
that's-
go?
It's
Come
the
on,
best
do
noise
it.
in the world.
Do it.
It's like doo-doo-doo.
he doesn't do it every day, does he?
No, he doesn't.
No, that was terrible.
What else is there? Are plumb back blow-off valves bad for a Golf GTI Mark 8?
I'd say
Why
no.
would they be
That's-
bad?
Yeah. I don't know.
The standard
That'd
one
be
recirc.
yeah, the
back in.
factory one would
Yeah.
research.
There you go. So upgrade it to a Turbosmart product.
What's
So the
the-
benefits of upgrading it, obviously you're comparing, if you have a look at the OE valve, it's full plastic construction. It's very brittle. Once you start tuning the cars, adding boost, they are very prone to leaking. So if you want to keep all that boost within your system, it's good to upgrade to a full
Yep.
billet unit.
Otherwise, it leaks back through into the intake, and you don't know where the leak is.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct. Well, car companies know that they need to design a car to meet a price point that is reliable to a certain aspect.
Yep.
Right. So when people start tuning them and start upping the boost, increasing the amount of heat, the amount of airflow, those components weren't designed to work. And yes, they might work for a while, but they're not designed to work forever because you're working outside the design parameters. Just like our products, if you work outside the design parameters, they will eventually fail. With the blow-off valve, if it's a stock car, the standard one's probably okay. But once you start tinkering with that car, it might not be okay.
Ashraf asked, can he get free parts for his cars? Thanks. I think what he meant was he'll swap his R8 for some Turbosmart product.
Done deal.
Yeah. Pretty sure that's what he means.
He's got an R8 for sale.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
It does have the Turbosmart catalogue.
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Tell him to call me.
Yeah. There you go. Call him.
Is that it?
That's it.
So we touched on all the other questions.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I've got some generic questions here. They're not Turbosmart related, but they can be. I'm going to alternate between the two of you.
Mhm.
And you've got 5 seconds to answer, and it's the first answer that comes to your mind. So just say whatever comes to mind. Don't think of it too far into it.
Don't overthink it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start with you, Richard. What were you afraid of as a child?
Cactuses.
Very good.
That's a new one.
Was there many at home?
You grew up in Arizona?
Is there a story?
Oh, look. Yeah,
Over at PRI.
we had cactuses at home, and I remember when I was young, and they look furry.
Yes.
You know? Go
Yeah,
touch it
touched
as a
it, yeah.
kid. And my dad would keep on saying, don't touch it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, don't touch it." My dad has this thing, you say it 3 times after that, go for your life.
100.
So after the third time, I was like, go touch it, go find out. So I hit it.
Oh,
And I had-
Wow.
Ouch.
yeah.
ever since then, cactuses,
Bad. Yeah.
bad.
I like your dad.
Cactuses are bad.
That's so good. Sometimes you have to learn the hard way.
Yeah, he's a firm believer of that. It'll be fine. Been at hospital when I was young, and he would bring a live drill into the hospital bed because I like drills, and the nurse is like, "Mate, you can't take that in here," but he likes it. It's got a drill bit in it.
My
Back in the day,
Jesus.
Old school parenting.
old school
yeah,
parenting.
The best.
Yeah.
It'll
wow.
be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, Brendan, who is your hero? First thought.
First person.
I was going to say Shaquille O'Neal, but I don't know why. I don't like basketball.
Wow. Wow. You don't even like basketball.
No, not particularly. He's just the first person.
Was
came
that
to
memory
mind.
lane basketball card trading at?
It must be, you know, something from my childhood.
Yeah.
I think that's the card I wanted.
Oh, I hope mum and dad watches this. I'm pretty sure they would have wanted to be a hero. What is your favourite body part, Richard? Doesn't have to be yours. People have proven that to us.
My hands,
Hands.
yes, because I can do a lot with my hands.
Yep, and you can do not a lot without them. If you're a fruit, what fruit would you be?
Definitely an orange.
An orange.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Love orange. If you had to choose a certain fruit that you could only eat every day, it'd be an orange for me.
Yep. So you want to be eaten up. You want to be eaten up.
100%. What else would you do as a fruit?
If you're not an orange, you're probably not going to eat yourself. Okay. What are you most looking forward to?
Being a good role model to my kids.
Oh,
How old are your kids?
I've got a son who's 9 turning 10, and I've got a daughter 6 turning 7.
Yeah, okay. And is the son, you think, going to go into your footsteps?
He doesn't like cars at the moment, but
Yeah.
he loves technology. So
Right.
he loves robotics, he loves coding, and
Wow.
the way he approaches things is very logical, and he's blunt, and he says things the way they are. Sort of like how I am.
Yeah.
So
he's a genius, Logan.
everyone
He's-
keeps on talking like that. I see him as just a kid that
No,
sometimes
you don't
really
see it
annoys
from
me.
an outsider's perspective. This kid is the smartest kid I've ever
Right.
met.
Wow.
Yeah, just genius.
Yeah. Well, I've been told that,
He's
but
been raised well.
I try.
And what does his mum do for work?
She is a travel agent.
Right, okay.
So, yeah, but she manages the home while
Yep.
I'm busy working
Yep.
and trying
So
to
she
play
works
with
from
my
home?
car.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good job. We know a couple of people that do that. Seems so...
She loves traveling.
Yeah, nice.
Almost as much as you love your MX-5.
No, I love my own.
What is one thing you wish you enjoyed more?
Definitely drifting. We found a car and kind of, you know, we used to go Oran Park. Did you ever go? Oran
Yeah.
Park Friday night drifts. I was there almost every weekend, and if not, probably shouldn't say it, but we were out street drifting.
Yep.
And it was just, the best time. And it's the most fun. I've done a lot of, not going to say a lot of drag racing, but a little bit of drag racing, fair bit of circuit racing, and,
Yeah.
and drifting takes the cake. So
Really?
I just, if I could go back to it all again, I'd definitely take drifting a bit more seriously and, you know, enter some comps and have a proper drift car.
Money or happiness, Richard?
Money can buy happiness.
It can.
Can. Never met a happy poor person.
No.
Right? But money can buy
Yep.
lots of cool things.
Yeah, you wouldn't really see a sad person in a twin turbo Huracan.
No. The people that say that is a pipe dream, money can buy a lot of happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. We get mixed results there. Okay, so there's two different angles you can look at this. The first thing that we say when we say money, we compare it and we say, if we've got money, you can buy happiness. So the end result seems to be that we want to be happy.
Correct.
So then why don't we just choose happiness? Then you don't need the money because you're happy.
You need money to do everything and anything.
And you're not going to remain happy
There's no
without
answer.
money because you'll be happy for a bit, then you'll
I didn't
realise.
say you're going to be a broke ass on the street because that's
Well, that's how
probably
we
not
take
happy. So I didn't say homeless or money. Oh, God. Lucky none of those people are watching this.
Oh.
That was too bad. if they are, I'm very sorry. And please call me. I will take you out to dinner. What is your last Google search?
Probably what noise does the blow-off have, mate?
Pull your phone out.
We have to see.
And if it's our address, you're no good at sales. What was it?
The last Google search was about chimneys, actually, because I'm redoing my chimney.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Chimney. Wow. That's random.
Yep.
What was your last impulse buy?
Wheels.
Wheels.
What'd you get?
I bought a set of T37 SL black editions for
Beautiful.
my GDR.
Yeah, nice.
Because it's easier to get race rubber for 18s instead of 19s.
19s, yep.
And I really love the wheels that are on my car, and I don't want to scratch them.
Yep.
So wanted a set of rims that I could damage if need be. And
So you got a set of T37s.
yeah.
To damage.
Smart thinking, right? Just get some rotor grids.
Yeah, you could have got some cheaper versions. But no, that's good. Engineer life.
Yep.
Yes, engineered life.
What motivates you the most, Brendan?
Probably money, to be honest. I think that's what drives me the most in terms of wanting to, and it's not money so that I can collect all the money in the world, but to provide for family,
Future wife.
family, exactly like that. Yeah, so,
I'm getting you brownie points here, by the way.
yeah, exactly. So I'll just slip you money.
I'm going to take you. I'm going to take some money off you shortly.
Yeah, it's always been, I think in sales, if you're not heavily driven by money to hustle and get you out of bed and actually, make shit happen, you're probably in the wrong job.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
100%.
mean, the way if you can't do that for yourself, how the hell are you going to do that for
You can't, yeah.
the company? Yeah.
Exactly. You have to be hungry.
No, that's good. Are you Turbosmart for life?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cool. And what about you, Richard?
Been here for a while. I'm part of the furniture.
Yeah, you are. And that's such a good thing about a company, right?
Yeah.
There's just so many companies that people just come and go, and I mean we see people come and go as well.
Yeah.
But when you get people and they can even say from their own perspective that I'm part of the furniture. I'm not going anywhere. It's a credibility to the company that he's ran. You know what I mean?
It's an amazing place to work. Really good culture. Everyone's best mates within the company. And yeah, we've had people leave in the past and, the grass is greener type thing. And they've all wanted to come back.
Right.
Yeah.
And do they come back?
We've got a no rehire policy.
Really?
Yeah.
Once you make the choice, you make the choice.
You're gone.
I like
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really good.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a tight knit family. We all push each other quite.
Yeah, I guess
hard.
once you've sort of been left once, it's easier to do it the second time, right? That's the problem with rehiring.
Yeah.
So does that get spoken about in the meeting? Hey, if you're doing this, this is it.
Yeah.
We like you, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's been
Yep.
been mentioned a few times.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you sure? You really sure? Because once you walk through that door, it's
someone will
With
take the
that
spot.
said, we have really low turnover
Staff
rates.
turnover rate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Like exceptionally low. So a lot of the people that have been there for a very long time.
Yeah.
I guess that's the foundation of a good company or a strong company if everyone's working towards the same goal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can tell that the staff are well looked after, treated well, and given the flexibility and trust to do what they need to do.
And it can be seen by your customers because when you ring a place like that where everyone's happy, you're getting someone on the phone who actually wants to deal with you or help you. You're getting someone who answers the phone, or if doesn't, they call you straight back.
Yeah.
Or you send an email and the way they respond is happy, and it's
They want to be there.
100%.
Yeah.
And that can be seen from a mile away.
Yeah.
we're our own customer, right?
Yeah.
So when we have a problem working on our own car, if we have a problem, we want someone to be able to talk to
Yep.
and have that response. So we try and do that for our customers. The same with our parts, the quality of our parts. We know how bad it is when you've taken your car apart, you go and grab this part to put on it and it's missing something or it's not right. It's really frustrating. So we understand that level of importance and we try, to our detriment, really hard to ensure that doesn't happen. So
Yeah.
high quality, good surface, it's what sets us apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone can make a product. Is the product good quality, reliable, performs well, but also if you do have a problem, is there support there?
Yeah.
So before we finish up, the last couple of things that have come to market that have been completely new, which sort of proves the difference between Turbosmart and other companies that have sort of just been doing the same wastegate and blow-off valve for the past 15, 20 years. The oil pressure reg was one of those ground-breaking, small sort of, why didn't I think of that units?
It's a weird story, that one. So how we came up with that was we have a Toyota 86 R&D car. When we put the turbo kit on that car, when you first started up, it runs extremely high oil pressure, probably 100, 120 pound, and it would instantly smoke. I'm like, geez, all right, we need to lower that pressure. You read the instruction manual of the turbo and it says oil pressure needs to be this at the entry point. Okay, cool. What do we do about it? You check in the industry and it's like, oh, you use restrictors. Well, which one? Oh, you just try them. It's a fucking stupid idea.
Yeah.
We have fuel pressure regs. You know what? Grab a fuel pressure reg. Let's just lower this pressure, make sure the smoke goes away. So we did that because we're bypassing, we reduce that pressure. And sure enough, it works. It's like, hey, hang on a second, we got something here. So we stripped out all the things that we didn't need from a fuel pressure reg because it doesn't need to be adjustable, it doesn't need to be, doesn't need to flow that much, blah, blah, blah. And we created the first OPR. So first of its kind, it's been out there for a while. And then we got feedback on the cons of having this style of OPR.
With a return.
Return. So we redesigned it in a way so that there's no return. It's got a built-in filter. It runs in line on a line that's already the same fitting size as the turbo. Away you go. So it's nice.
So now it's not a bypass, it's really a pressure reduction valve.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. So simple, and we can't keep them in stock because they just work.
Yep.
They just fly out the door. But it all started from that problem that we encountered as enthusiasts working on cars.
Now, with the internal design of that oil pressure reg, that's completely different. It'll have to be because it doesn't have that bypass, correct?
Correct. So it works by having oil feed through one side through the valve and applies pressure on the back of the piston that's working against the spring to close the feed through it. So if the pressure builds up on this side to overcome the spring, it actually drives into the seat to seal off the seat.
Sure.
And that's how it controls
limits the flow.
Limits the flow.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's good. It's a different way of... I mean, I probably should have said something because that was my first problem with running those valves. The draining of the bypassing of the oil was a problem. It's like, okay, great. Where do I put that?
Well, that's probably the most common complaint of the old OPR is, okay, this theory works great. Where do I put a drain for this? Now I've got to cut another hole. I've got to run another line. I need all these, buy these fittings, these lines. It becomes an expedition to try and fit that. Now, most people already run a filter to their turbo anyway. Replace that. It's done.
Makes complete sense. Anything else that's new to market? The E-Gate?
The E-Gate has been something that we've wanted to work on for probably half a decade, but just never had the time, resources to do it. And it just got to a point where it's like, we have to do something. You know, we've exhausted all avenues with our normal Gen V wastegate range and our sensors and our CO2 gates. You know, where can we move up from here to give you even better control? And that's how we did the E-Gate. Where essentially you're limited to how far you want to push the ECU because really it comes down to building a map to drive that. So could you limit boost pressure as you're taking different corners around a racetrack? Yes, you can. If you had GPS connection and it goes through
you
your
can create
ECU,
a map based on
it's as far as your imagination will take you, and we've been getting really, really good results. People are starting to get accustomed to using it, and that has always been the difficult part of it. It's getting people to try something different that's really out there because the way you tune it is very different from a normal pneumatic wastegate, and it's not for everyone. Some people like to call you up and go, oh, what's your newest, greatest thing? I want that. Do you really, really need it? It's for those guys that are chasing that 1%.
And that even then, it doesn't mean that car needs that. So it just depends on the setup.
Correct. And your tuner. So the tuner needs to know what he's got and how to drive it for it to work properly. There's a lot of trial and error in it as well. So we've got that. We've got the pneumatic straight gate stuff. We've got the straight gate. Straight gate. So the straight gate is trying to get something small, so without the drawbacks of a pop design. So wastegate, you have exhaust back pressure working on the valve trying to push it open and the motor or spring trying to keep it closed. So you've always got this fine line of how much spring you can put in it versus what your minimum boost is, what your maximum boost
Correct.
is.
Yep.
So normally we say for a wastegate, just say you have a 7-pound spring in it, you can safely get to double the spring pressure with boost control, safely. So you can do that. Anything more than that will be very dependent on your exhaust manifold, your back pressure, your turbo,
Sure.
or all these other points. With a straight gate, because the butterfly design is more balanced, it's less influenced by back pressure.
Yep.
So what we've been able to see is a much wider boost range with a very, very soft spring. So on our 86, we've been able to get 6 to 7 times what the spring is, because it's balanced. There's no real forces acting on the valve to either try to open it or close it.
Yep.
So where that becomes really good is cars that are traction limited. You want to leave the line at, just say, a big twin turbo V8. You want to leave the line with nothing.
Yep.
That
5
aspirated
pounds,
engine's got so much power.
Yeah.
Doesn't need boost, but at the top end, you want all of it. Unless you're running CO2, where you've got a really soft spring and then can feed the CO2 in to keep the gate closed in the top end, you have to run a spring that's a lot higher than probably where you want. The pneumatic straight gate, you can run that soft spring and still have the legs up the top.
Yep.
And that 50 mil design, that butterfly can outflow like a 60 mil poppet design because it's a more straight.
Dead straight, so not having to do a 90-degree bend.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So that's something new.
Yeah.
It also controls boost better than a 40 mil gate. So I've been telling people, I actually think if we, look back on this conversation in 5 years' time,
Everyone will be using straight
Yeah,
gates.
like
It makes
it's
no
the-
sense not to.
it doesn't. Yeah. So I think technology is about to change a big way for external waste.
We might have to get a couple.
We haven't used them.
So what sizes do they come in?
Just at one, 50 mil.
50 mil only.
Yeah. We are working on other sizes, but at the moment, the 50 mil was the
Are they the same
spread.
flange type as the...
It's the same
Should-
flange type as the
60 mil.
outlet of a 60 mil.
Right. Yeah, interesting.
We'll get you one to play with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2.
2.
Yeah, we don't deal with one bank. They're all 2-bank engines.
It could make the Huracan
Yeah.
design easier.
Well, more and more people are actually playing with them on the intake side now.
Yes. Yep.
So get your turbo speed up and just bleed away what you need. And they're finding that allows them to have better response to a point where they can compete with more responsive engines like your supercharged drag cars in the States.
Yep.
So turbo cars are now starting to get up to that response level and power level of your supercharged cars because of
They're
these
able to spin the
technologies that
turbo.
we're
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I know they were using drive-by-wire throttles and whatnot to do the exact same thing, I guess.
Yep.
Not sure how well they seal. I guess they do pretty well when they're completely shut.
Yeah.
Anything else coming to market that we can talk about, or everything's hush-hush until SEMA? It's always SEMA, right?
We like SEMA. SEMA's a good show.
Yep.
A lot of media presence, a lot of hype around it.
Yep.
So it's a good place to introduce new products there.
Yeah.
All I will say is definitely keep a lookout for this SEMA, because we've released some pretty amazing new products and game-changing products before. But we've got something exciting in the bag.
Yeah, awesome.
which
How many
we-
products are we looking at?
I cannot say anything. I'm not going to be the person.
There'd be a handful of completely different stuff,
Wow.
but also some revisions to a few things that we already do.
Yeah.
But it'll be the biggest wow factor of what the
Wow.
hell,
Big
even
call.
compared to the E-Gate stuff. And
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been quite difficult to match the year before. So
Yes.
last year we won 2 SEMA awards.
Right.
The year before that we won 1 or 2 SEMA awards. The year before that was COVID, so nothing really happened. The year before that we won another SEMA award. So we've actually won quite a fair few awards, and I almost feel I'm pretty sure we're the only company in the world to do it. Yeah, it's
says
been
a lot.
massive, and every
Yeah.
time we win, the engineers go, crap.
Yeah.
How are we supposed
Next
to
year, how are we going to top it?
Yeah, because sales and marketing going, so what do we do next year? I don't know. We weren't supposed to win this year.
Who comes up with these ideas?
It's a combination of
Everyone within the team?
Yeah. So we have a pipeline, and everyone spitballs, and we chuck it all on a list, and from that we make a collective decision on what we should pursue this year. And there's some big projects, there's some gap fillers, there's a few accessories. It's just a variety, but we work together as a team to come up with that list.
literally,
That's awesome.
like not all staff meeting, but the key guys are there with your engineers, sales, marketing, and everyone just puts
Mind
their
dumping.
ideas in. Yeah, exactly. And then
Yeah.
they pick and choose between what's viable and
We'd love to do everything, but
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, then you've got time constraints, priorities, what would benefit from coming out to market first.
Correct.
And what would
Yeah.
sell and what wouldn't, and
Yeah.
profitability and whatnot.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few products there that we'd like to do,
But they're
because
not
we're
gonna be
passionate,
profitable.
but they're not going to make money. Or there's
Yeah.
things that we're not really passionate about, but they'll bring in heaps of cash. So it's like, all right,
We'll take that.
That's what keeps
we'll
business
take
like.
that.
yeah.
That's what makes yeah. It's how I get to a twin turbo Lambo. So why not?
Yeah.
No, that's
Very
awesome.
good.
It's that's been a super informative chat.
Yeah.
Even for me, I learned
Yeah.
some stuff, which is cool. Thanks for coming. Really
No
appreciate
worries.
it.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much
having
for
us.
having us, boys.
Thank
Taking
you.
time out of your evenings with your partners and your children and everything. It's hopefully everyone sees it in the same light. That grows a community and shows your support for us as the end users.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.